Welcome to lucky episode 13 of Secret City Geek Lab, your resource in everything geek. We'll talk movies, television, comic books, video games, and anything geek. I'm your host, Alan Ng, and you'll hear from me and members of the improv comedy group Secret City Comic Society. Today's show features Will Acker, Sophia Bein, Liam Holton, and Joey Shope. Today's show is brought to you by Secret City Comic Society, the best in all ages improv comedy in downtown Fullerton. Visit Secret City Comic Society and the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com. Well, this is a big week. We're only going to talk two things. We're going to talk Star Trek Into Darkness, and we're also going to talk about the Xbox One, the recent announcement by Microsoft. Coming up first, though, is our Secret City review of Star Trek Into Darkness. The Secret City Geek Lab review of Star Trek Into Darkness. Pioneer director J.J. Abrams delivers an explosive action thriller that takes Star Trek into darkness. When the crew of the Enterprise is called back home, they find an unstoppable force of terror from within their own organization and has detonated the fleet and everything it stands for, leaving our world in a state of crisis. With a personal score to settle, Captain Kirk leads a manhunt to a war-zone world to capture a one-man weapon of mass destruction. As their heroes are propelled into an epic chess game of life and death, love will be challenged, friendships will be torn apart, and sacrifices must be made for the only family Kirk has left, his crew. I can't say much of the story without giving away spoilers, but what I liked is Captain Kirk's style of leadership is challenged. Is Captain Kirk a tactical genius, or is he a reckless warrior who's incredibly lucky? This question is put to the test when he's up against John Harrison, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, to cover a mission that endangers his entire crew. It's almost unfair to compare this film with the first film. The first film was a lot about origins, kind of getting into that story of Kirk. It's definitely a reboot that meddles with the Star Trek continuity. But Into Darkness is a full-fledged episode of the crew of the USS Enterprise. The movies that intrigue me the most are the ones that make bold storytelling choices. It's those movies that make you wonder throughout the entire film of how in the world are they going to get out of this one. Star Trek Into Darkness had a lot of those moments of how exactly are they going to get out. Your friends are in peril, but you just have no idea until it finally happens. Another great thing about Star Trek is the supporting cast. They chose these actors wisely, from Chris Pine, who plays Captain Kirk, Zachary Quinto, who plays Spock, Carl Urban as McCoy, and Carl Urban just really embodies the spirit of DeForest Kelley. Simon Pegg brings a much more comedic take to Scotty, I think, and Zoe Saldana as Uhura is sultry and amazing. My only big one is Chekhov. I mean, he just comes across as a little too childish. Having said that, John Harrison, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, he brings a lot of charisma to this actor. He brings seriousness, creepiness, evil to the role, and that sometimes, just wondering, is he really a bad guy? One thing that I liked a lot about Star Trek Into Darkness was the production design. Most of the scenes that didn't take place on a ship took place outside, and not on a soundstage. They brought futuristic elements to modern-day San Francisco. The world just felt real. There were a few missteps where there was a floating hover car, and that just came off as a little bit cheesy, as a low-grade sand speeder. There's a lot of nods for Trekkers and Trekkies alike, a lot of plot points that were, hey, I recognize that, I know what that's going on, but it wasn't so heavy-handed that the new viewer into the Star Trek universe couldn't understand it. I know there's a lot of controversy out there about whether this was truly a Star Trek episode, and in my opinion, I think it was. You have to go off the fact that the successful Star Trek movies, we would call them the even ones, those that did the best at the box office and critically were, for the most part, 90% action movies and 10% moral tale. While the ones that failed, such as Nemesis and Insurrection, and the one where they search for God, it was these morality tales that just didn't pay off and therefore didn't do well. And more importantly, I think it hurt the franchise. So if you really want to revive the Star Trek franchise, you've got to let these movies become action films, and you've got to somehow develop a television series that can tell these stories of morality and make you question and think about us as people living on Earth. From a scale from 1 to 10, I give Star Trek a 9. This is Alan Ng with the Secret City Geek Lab movie review of Star Trek Into Darkness. This is KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng with the Secret City Geek Lab. That was our review of Star Trek Into Darkness, and now we're going to see what other members of Secret City Comic Society thought about Star Trek Into Darkness. We have Sophia Bein, Liam Holton, and Will Acker. I'm here with Sophia Bein. What did you think of Star Trek?
I thought it was a lot of fun, very interesting, heartfelt plot line, and just a lot of fun overall. And me not being a huge knower of Star Trek universe, I thought that what they did was interesting. So I asked other Trekkies, and they told me really interesting things. Not to spoil anything, but so I'm not going to spoil anything.
Some of the things you saw in the movie that were part
of the TV show. Yeah, so I thought that was really cleverly done, and I just enjoyed it.
So what were the aspects that you liked about the movie?
I really liked the camaraderie of it. There are things that I didn't expect, and there's some things that were almost cliche, but they put an interesting twist to it, so I still enjoyed it.
Okay, so from a scale from 1 to 10?
I give it a solid 8.5.
All right, great. Thank you, Sophia. I'm here with Liam Holton, and he's going to... What did you think of Star Trek Into Darkness?
I thought it was a good sequel to the series that they've developed, but they created a cool character with him, but they didn't do anything with him. That kind of disappointed me.
Okay. Are you a big Trekkie?
I'd like to believe I am, but not really.
Okay. Did you think this was a good Star Trek movie?
In its own universe that it created, yeah, but
But not in the entire...
Yeah, if you look at the series as a whole, it doesn't seem to quite match up.
Okay, what are some things you liked about the movie?
I like the lens flare. No, I like that they kept the characters as they were. They didn't need to change them for any reason. We weren't like, oh, Kirk has this. So I thought it was good. I thought it was a cool idea and it was a neat twist. But then they said he's superpowered and he does cool stuff because that. It wasn't anything other than that. Yeah.
Okay, so from a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate Star Trek Into Darkness?
Probably a 7.
All right, I'm here with Will Acker, and so what did you think about Star Trek Into Darkness?
Into Darkness. I liked it a lot. I wouldn't consider myself a hardcore Star Trek fan, but I have seen portions of everything, and I feel like...
So you wouldn't consider yourself a Trekkie at all?
Not really, no. I mean, I've kind of dabbled in everything, but I'm not really hardcore. Right. But I feel like it really... It didn't pander to the fans, it didn't pander to the old school fans. It gave a little bit for everybody. It gave the new people who like the new Star Trek kind of something a great storyline. It gave people from the old Star Trek, people who kind of love the old series, it gave them something to work with. Okay. It kind of gave everybody everything that it needed to give, I guess.
What did you like about the movie?
Honestly, I really liked the throwbacks to a lot of things. There were a lot of throwbacks to old references to old Star Trek episodes. There were references. There were great character development. I liked the main villain. I thought they did a really good job with what they did. I'm not going to spoil anything. Yeah. So
okay, so you like John Harrison?
I did like John Harrison. He was quite an amazing villain.
Okay, and what did you not like about it?
J.J. Abrams has this stylized way of doing things sometimes. I hate his lens flares. And even while they were down in the actual movie, it bugs me every time I see those. It just frustrates me.
What did you think about the production quality? I like that the cities were real cities.
Yeah.
It was shot outside, outdoors, as opposed to on stage.
Yeah, no, you didn't have just people kind of looking out in the view, but there was actual parks, and it looked like what San Francisco would look like in 200 years. They made it very realistic. They made it look like what it would look like if, the Federation came to power.
Okay. And how would you rate the movie from 1 to 10?
I'm going to rate it at a 9, just because I really, really like the movie.
All right. And would you see it again?
Yeah, I'd see it again.
IMAX 3D?
As we've talked about before, I'm not really an 3D guy. I might go see it in IMAX just to get that full visual effect, but now, yeah.
That was Sophia Bein, Liam Holton, and Will Acker with their thoughts on Star Trek Into Darkness. This is the Secret City Geek Lab. You're listening to KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng, and this is the Secret City Geek Lab. Leading up to E3, which we're hoping to attend and bring you reports from, Xbox or Microsoft just recently announced their next gen of Xbox consoles called Xbox One, and it's coming out later this year. Will Acker and Joey Shope and myself had a chance. Recently at Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, Washington, they announced the Xbox One. Xbox One is the next generation of games and entertainment, where games push the boundaries of realism and television obeys your every command. Where listening to music while playing a game is a snap, and you can jump from TV to movies to music to games in an instant. Where your experience is custom tailored to you, and the entertainment you love is still all in one place. This is Xbox One. Xbox One is fully loaded. Not only does it come with a Blu-ray player, but there's an octa-core processor based on AMD's Jaguar design, and 8 gigabytes of RAM to go up against Sony's PlayStation 4. There will be USB 3 ports, 500 gigabytes of hard drive storage, Wi-Fi Direct for communicating with your controllers and other devices, and a humongous amount of silicon to drive it all. And no fewer than 5 billion transistors, which compares to the 1.4 billion on average you find in an Intel or AMD chip. The Xbox One will boast 3 OS systems in one, which basically means that you're going to have 3 Xboxes in one device, and that allows for the instant transfer from movies to television to music to gaming. Secret City's Will Acker and Joey Shope and myself have had a chance to watch the presentation, and these are our thoughts. All right, Secret City Geek Lab. Microsoft just had a big announcement to announce Xbox One. I'm here with Will Acker and Joey Shope. Say hi.
Hi.
That's Joey.
Hello.
That's Will. Well, what's your general impression of the Xbox One?
All right, so here's the thing. They announced like a new everything in one package, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I was wanting to hear more about specific stuff, about games and stuff like that, but they only announced really like, this new box is all Xbox Live and you have to be connected to the internet the entire time. I think that was my biggest complaint, really.
But in terms of excitement about the Xbox One, are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'll end up just buying it. I'm a sheep. I'll just buy more Microsoft things.
Okay. All right, Will, give me a general impression.
Very interested. I mean, there was a lot that they did talk about. There's a lot of new stuff that they're bringing in. There's a lot of stuff that they're kind of revamping. It was very interesting to kind of see what they're doing with the future of gaming. At the same time, I was just a little bit disappointed.
All right, so were you more excited about the Xbox One announcement afterwards or the PS4?
I was really more excited with the Xbox One because I am an Xbox fan and I love my Xbox. I was really interested to see where Microsoft is going to take it next. See what the next step was for them.
Enjoy the PS4?
I could care less about PS4.
Okay, so I guess we're all Xbox fans here.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk hardware. Some of the things that I came across, or that struck me, was one, obviously it's going to be more high-powered. It's going to be able to process more graphics and offer better graphics, and it really looks like it's going to do that. But I was more interested in like the 3 processors.
Yeah.
The fact that you can multitask on this one, so you can instantly move from television to game to Skype within less than a second.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. That was the one thing I was like really stoked about because like I don't know, I feel like Xbox 360 is pretty good at that, but you gotta like go to the menu, you gotta go to a certain section.
And you gotta watch that circle spin.
Yeah.
For a while.
I mean, a lot of it, though, is based off internet connection, too, so I don't have a great one, so that's why a lot of it takes a lot of time for that one.
Okay.
But I imagine with the better Xbox 360 and a better internet, you can have do a lot of stuff, and it'd be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting in the new things that they're incorporating into the graphics and the design and stuff. Again, I like the whole concept of the seamless moving between Skype and all that stuff. I think that's really cool. For me, really, the graphics are going to be the biggest issue because I don't think that's necessarily an Xbox thing because they're putting this technology out with all these graphics, and we really have to focus on now see what the developers are doing with this new technology and where they're going to go with games. Because I remember when the PS3 first came out, they just didn't, like, game designers did not have enough ability just to be able to put enough quality into games, and I'm really worried that with this enhanced graphics and all these enhanced, like, abilities on the Xbox One, that, again, game designers are not going to be able to fully use that for at least the next couple of years.
So one of the big things they brought up next was the Kinect. Mm-hmm. Right now, the Kinect basically can spot your arm movements, where your hand is, where your head is, and now it looks like it can spot your finger movements. It's picking you out better. It's recognizing your voice much better. Does that matter to you at this point with your experience with the Xbox?
For me, the Kinect is more of a hands-free device to be able to call it and ask it to do things for me. I really don't use the Kinect I don't play a lot of Kinect games, so that's not an issue for me. I would like their voice recognition to improve, and I really hope that's something they work on because...
Yeah. And I think they do. I think it sounds like that they're able to recognize individual voices.
Yeah, well, again, we'll see how that's going to be. You know, if you're in a party full of people, you're trying to call the Xbox to do something, we'll see how that works. But again, a lot of with this new technology stuff, we really have to... What they show at these press conferences may not be what's necessarily released, so it's going to be interesting to see actually what comes out and how well everything actually works once it's released.
The one thing that I've had problems with Kinect is my rooms aren't really set up well for the Kinect. It's kind of I found myself in odd places in the room to get a good view of myself, and especially my daughter, who's much smaller than I am.
Yeah. I mean,
it sounds like I'm hoping they've solved that. I didn't necessarily see that.
I mean, like I was gonna say, I don't have a Kinect, and I'm comfortable never having one. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it comes with it. Yeah, it comes with it. So that's at least there. You don't have to buy another Kinect.
Right.
One of the things that I'm sure we might bring up a little bit later is the fact that, again, nothing's going to be able to transfer over like some hardware stuff. Like there's the headphone stuff is now unable to plug into your controller. They have to get a completely new headset. And one of my biggest complaints about multiplayer online stuff was the fact that the mic never. I've heard two different stories, but from what I can tell, the mic is always going to be on for when you play multiplayer.
Okay.
You don't have. I'm sure down the line, Xbox might fix that, but as far as I can tell from right now, the microphone will always be on while you're playing multiplayer.
I usually have that shut off when I'm playing.
Yeah, for a reason, because most people are dumb.
Yeah. And that's you bring up another interesting point, and that's the backwards compatibility. I didn't get an impression that there is backwards compatibility.
I don't think there is.
Well, PS4 is the same way too.
From what I've heard on the Xbox is that it's not going to be backwards compatible with Xbox 360 games nor Xbox games, and for the PS4, I've heard that they're only going to be backwards compatible for 2 and 3, and that PS1 games are not going to be compatible on the PS4.
Well, maybe. Do you think that games you bought in the cloud are going to be compatible?
That's a good question.
I get the feeling it would be.
PS4 is doing that, so I imagine if Microsoft wants to make any money, that they'll be doing that too.
Yeah, and then I heard also that there's they're kind of destroying the used game market by forcing you to buy basically a license.
It's so dumb. I hate them so much right now for doing that, but I kind of get it as a business opportunity, but they're seriously alienating a select group of people. Because I'll be honest with you, when I buy games, most of the times they are used games. I haven't bought a new game in like 4 or 5 months, or I'll rent that game or borrow it from a friend. But now that's no longer even an option.
Yeah. You know, I'll say this: I think who it hurts is the GameStop, and local stores, because it's kind of like stuff I buy on Amazon or on iTunes. I'm buying it and I own it, but I didn't go to a store and buy it.
Yeah.
In terms of the used game market, pricing always works that way. When a game comes out, you're going to pay full price.
Yeah.
But a year down the line, they're going to cut that price down to a point where it is basically what you're going to pay for a used game. Mm-hmm. It's just you're not going to GameStop to buy it.
Yeah, here's the thing though. I know it's kind of contradictory to what I said, but if we got rid of all discs for these games, then I would be completely on board with that, because that's less distribution cost, that's less boxing. Yeah. Well, as far as we can tell, there still will be discs, but I think if they completely got rid of discs altogether, then a new game wouldn't cost $60, $70, probably costs $35, $40, because they're cutting out this huge part. They don't have to pay for shipment, they don't have to pay for boxing, they don't have to pay for art for the box.
That's how Steam works. Steam's a PC-powered game kind of library, right. And it's great because you don't have to pay those costs for all that stuff. Yeah. Games are max $30, $40 on a PC as compared to a $60 game you're going to buy online.
And you get all updates for free, and the updates are going to be there when you start playing the game. And again, there's a level in which I think game stores are going to have to figure out how they're going to stay in business with, because it's not Microsoft moving this direction. It's everyone moving this direction, especially with the beginning of iTunes.
It's the video game medium is where it's going.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that Nintendo is doing a lot better with Wii U sales because of this? Mm-hmm. There were a lot of fans who were upset with Xbox One for, whatever reason. It has to be always on the internet. It has to do this. So what happened was people went out and bought Nintendo Wii U's. And they went up. I've heard anything from a 200% to 800% increase in sales of Nintendo Wii U's.
Yeah.
And then PS4 and Sony has gone up, and their stocks have gone up tremendously in the last couple of days, just because more people don't want to buy the Xbox One.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I know. I didn't come off as disappointed when I saw the Xbox One, and I think I'm different from you guys. I'm not an avid user. Right now, my Xbox is our cable box.
Yeah.
We're watching Netflix on it, Hulu, and what have you, and I'm kind of excited to have my cable box run through. I mean, it's just now I don't need to have a cable box. Mm-hmm. I like being able to do social stuff alongside with it, and the announcement that they're going to have enhanced content when you watch NFL games.
Yeah.
You can sync that in with your fantasy football league.
Yeah.
And see how it's going on with the games.
Let me put it this way: Xbox One better have a better Pizza Hut app.
Okay.
That's priority one.
Yeah, I heard it will actually make the pizza for you.
Oh, thank God.
Here's the thing about the new Xbox One. The Xbox One is not just a gaming device anymore. It's not something that you just play video games on. It's now more of
It's an entertainment center.
Thank you. It's an entertainment system. I couldn't find the words, and that's why hardcore gamers are getting really upset, because I feel like they're feeling like they're pulling away from the things that the hardcore gamers care about. They're pulling away from graphics. They're pulling away from processing power. They're pulling away from that.
But it seems like that they've increased the from the samples they gave us. The graphics are much better.
Of that dog?
Yeah, of the dog. No, but even the skin coloring.
The hair on the arms, the Forza Motorsports, all that stuff.
I mean, it looks much more real than this. I mean, the thing about the dog is, now, the processing is creating a true AI type character.
Exactly. Again, then.
So it seems like, they're not. Yeah, I could buy a souped up PC. Mm-hmm. But, you can't disagree that the Xbox is much faster than most it's definitely an upgrade in all areas for a console.
And I think gamers are worried more about that Xbox is moving away from the game stuff, and they're not going to focus on that more. They're going to focus more on the live television and the Netflix and the Hulu stuff, and that's not what gamers are looking for.
But do you agree with that, though?
No, because I do use my Xbox for multiple things. Again, like I watch Netflix and Hulu on there. I don't really have a cable box in my house. I use my Netflix for all that. I use my Hulu. I use my Xbox for all that stuff because that's where the gaming industry is going. That's what that Xbox is there for. It's not just for games anymore, and that's what Microsoft is doing. They're trying to expand to kind of non-gamers to be able to get them to buy their stuff. And
I think that'll work, though.
It will, and I think it's a great place. I think that's where they need to go with it. And just people are very dissatisfied. Gamers per se are very dissatisfied with that. But unfortunately, they're not looking at the big picture. They're looking at what they want. But Microsoft has to look at what everybody wants and what's going to be good for their sales.
Yeah, I mean, the Xbox One is not meant for hardcore gamers. Yeah. It's meant for everybody.
Correct.
It's kind of the same thing with like the original Wii. That was not meant for hardcore gamers. That was meant for the family. Now Xbox One is now going to be the Wii. It's meant for the family. It's not meant for the specific gamer. But you could say that the 360 was meant that way too. Not originally. When they made Xbox Live, then it became the thing for the family.
But the thing is that when Xbox 360 was announced and brought out, yes, there were games and it was for the gamers, but at that time they were announcing Xbox Live.
Yeah,
I got the first Xbox 360 when it came out. We were anticipating all these rollouts. I mean, I couldn't wait for Netflix to finally show up on my Xbox. Mm-hmm. Once Facebook got on there, the app stunk, but it was kind of cool to have Facebook on there. But then
Pizza Hut app came out.
Yeah. Yeah, and they definitely grew more in the app realm, and I think that led to. I mean, what came out first? The iPhone apps or Microsoft apps?
They were right around the same time. I believe that the Android and the iPhone apps came out first, and then they were kind of modified into the Xbox Live, and that's kind of where it was almost right around that same time when the Kinect was coming out, and they kind of redid the whole Xbox screen and how everything worked on it. So it was all right around that same time.
Yeah, if you look at, it's weird to see, because you can see old screen caps of how Xbox used to look compared to it now. Yeah. Honestly, Xbox Live looks the Xbox 360 looks like a Windows. What's that Windows phone?
Yeah, the new Windows phone.
Yeah, the new Windows phone. It's all got these squares, and each one of them is a little thing, and all this stuff.
Well, and that was intentional. That was
Microsoft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, Microsoft's going to do that. So I don't know. I think the Xbox One's going to be fine. I feel like people are freaking out over nothing. It's just. I mean, if people took a step back from looking at their Xbox and realized that it's already pretty much the Xbox One, but with worse graphics and processor, then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to get the same thing, but nicer and shinier.
Yeah. I remember, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but, when I got Halo 3, I thought the graphics were amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how much better can graphics get? And then I see Call of Duty Ghosts, and all I really looked at was how they rendered people. And it was amazing. It was like, these look like people. They still look soulless and dead dead in their eyes, but it's still, they have microdermal rendering, so you can kind of see the blood vessels underneath their skin.
You can see the bruising of the hands. You can see scars on the face. I mean,
right. And it was not pre-programmed bruising.
No. Yeah. All of it's come together. And again, this is always my thing when they give this stuff, like when they brought out the Kinect, there was all these crazy things they could interact with like characters on screen and stuff, and it didn't all quite pan out. And so whenever I see a press conference these days, I kind of always take a step back. I look at it and I realize that all this is what they want, and what we're actually going to get is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, people are freaking out, but they're going to go out and buy it. Just like everyone else, like I am going to.
So let's get a gauge. How excited are you about Xbox One from a scale from 1 to 10?
10, but I'm comparing that to PS4, which is 0. So
okay, well, if are you eagerly anticipating it?
Yeah,
or are you...
I'm buying it. There's no question about it. So I guess
but that doesn't sound like a 10.
Okay, fine, 8.5.
Okay, 8.5. How about you?
I'm a solid 5 on it. I probably won't get it immediately. I'll probably wait. I'll keep my Xbox 360 around for a little bit, because more than likely they'll still do Xbox games on both. So then you'll have a chance. I'm a solid.
My problem is that when I bought the Xbox 360, I have the first gen. And it's not truly HD compatible. There's no HDMI. There's no HDMI output,
yeah.
And so I'm kind of stuck with component right now.
So then you're more apt to go buy it right now because of that.
Probably. I mean, to me, price point's everything. I mean, I like the fact that there's a Blu-ray player.
Yes.
Thank God.
And I also like the fact that
thank you, Microsoft, for being 6 years behind. Congratulations.
Well, okay. Well, we remember the story on that one. It was a battle between Microsoft HD and Blu-ray.
That's true.
And Blu-ray won. And you kind of knew that they weren't going to succumb and say, all right, we need to create a Blu-ray player until now. My guess is if it's $100 more than what I'm paying for a Blu-ray player with all these Netflix and other Wi-Fi stuff, then I will probably get it right away.
Yeah, I don't have a Blu-ray player, so this is going to be now my Blu-ray player.
So there we go. That's our Xbox One discussion. I'm Alan. I'm with
Joey
and William.
All right, and we'll see you next time. This has been episode 13 of Secret City Geek Lab. It was brought to you by Secret City Comic Society and the Geek Lab, Fullerton's best all-ages improv comedy in downtown Fullerton. Come back next week for more news and updates in the world of geekdom and nerdity. Also visit us online for daily geek news and reviews of comic books, movies, and television at secretcitycomedy.com. I want to thank Will Acker, Sophia Bein, Liam Holton, and Joey Shope for their contributions to this episode that was pretty much all Star Trek and all Xbox One. You're listening to the soundtrack of Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm Alan Ing. You're listening to KTST FM, and this is the Secret City Geek Lab, and we will look forward to hooking up with you again on episode 14. Until then, have a great week.